Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Crown and today we are going to have some more stories that I hope that you will enjoy. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go! First story, persecuted for compassion. Sorry about your career, dude. During my bachelor studies, I fell in love with a girl from another country. She was diagnosed with a terminal illness shortly after we started dating. It was a long distance, but we used any opportunity to see each other. However, they were few. One such opportunity arose in the form of a conference in her country. We were in the same field and she involved in the organizing of the conference and got me on the list. I raised some funds to go, but another student was quite annoyed because he wanted to go and believed I had stolen his spot. He made very little effort to raise money and wasn't planning on giving any presentations and so on. The conference kicks off and things are going well. I'm participating, presenting and representing my university very well. But the girlfriend fainted one day and I took her to hospital. The illness was already known to us, so I was worried. She ended up having a minor surgery and I stayed with her in the hospital for a day and joined the conference again the next day. As planned, I stayed an extra week with her after the conference. When I got back home, I was blindsided by disciplinary action for going AWOL, absent without official leave during duty travels. The other student found out I missed one day of the 7 of this conference and reported it, but grossly exaggerated. He knew I was in the hospital with a terminally ill partner but failed to mention this when lodging the complaints. This was a big deal because part of the funding I raised was from the government. I was facing both disciplinary action by my university, expulsion on the table, and charges brought by the government as well. I tried to appeal to his humanity. Bro, she's literally dying. But he wouldn't budge, and the damage had been done. I was able to explain this in a university hearing and literally all the money I'd made over 4 years of a side job was able to get the government charges dropped. He suffered no repercussions for this, and his thesis defense was coming up and I wanted to see if I could interfere with his session. Even pointing out a little oversight to embarrass him would satisfy me. So I studied his theses. These are made public before a seminar. I came to the seminar very prepared. I had found a huge error in his methodology, and I formulated a short, concise question to put him on the spot. The most I could expect was that this would negatively affect his final grade. As soon as I could talk, I took the floor to ask this question, and he went red. Couldn't explain, and his confidence took such a knock that he was unable to adequately answer the questions that followed. The review board failed him and he had to spend another 2 semesters at the university to start the project over. A costly extension, tuition fees, plus he also had to fund the new thesis work himself. This was a few years ago, but I heard recently that since he missed the first intake of recent graduates from our year, he ended up at a less than ideal company which went bankrupt shortly after and has been struggling since. I didn't mean for it to go that far, but I don't really feel bad about it. Next story, entitled Aunt Thinks Family Means Free Dog Sitter at Her Demand. So my aunt is always going camping with her son or hiking trips with her boyfriend about every other weekend, and she never takes her dog with her. The current excuse is that she doesn't think he'll get along with the boyfriend dog. She never takes him anywhere. Always has me and my parents dog sit for her. It wouldn't be a problem if he wasn't a dog from hell. Pees on everything, super territorial, bites people for being too close, terrorizes my cats to the point they are terrified of coming downstairs when he's here. When we dog sit, she rarely picks him up when she's supposed to. She's always super late to everything. She'll say she'll be here at 9 p.m. and instead it's close to midnight when she shows up. Or she won't show up until the next day because she or her son were too tired to swing by on their way home to get their dog. There have been several instances where she asks my dad if he can watch the dog, and even without him actually agreeing to it, she will show up in our backyard with her dog for us to watch. She has a history of having Facebook tantrums about how she has to cancel her plans during the times we say no, and how it's so unfair to her. Well, my parents are going on a 2-week vacation at the start of August. I'm staying home to take care of the house and our pets, and had plans to go to my grandma's who lives 1.5 hours away, to do a joint birthday celebration with hers, since our birthdays are that first week of the month. My aunt heard about my parents' plan of vacation last month, and decided around the 4th that she is going on a vacation to the Grand Canyon with her son, her boyfriend and his son, for those same 2 weeks my parents will be having theirs. The woman had the actual gall to ask my folks to reschedule their vacation so they would be home to babysit her dog for 2 weeks. My parents flat out refused because why the hell should they have to reschedule their vacation for her? She refused to accept the refusal, and while we were all hanging out at my grandma's backyard, she just kept trying to persuade us. She tells us, "We never get to take a vacation together out of state. I don't want to have to cancel." She was talking about her and her son. Dad tells her, "You don't have to cancel. You'll have to find someone or someplace to watch the dog, since my wife and I won't be here, or just take him with you." "Well, he's not good with these kinds of trips." Mom tells her, "Have you ever actually taken him on a trip? You don't know how well he handles these if you never take him." "Well, he probably won't get along with my boyfriend's dog, and he gets so mean around people." You're not going, so you can watch him, can't you? You don't have anything else to do." "No, I had plans during that time. Watching him on my own is just exhausting. He bit me 3 times the last time he was here, and I have to watch him like a hawk to make sure he doesn't attack my cats." "Well, the cats just hide upstairs when he's around, so they will be fine." "And you think it's fair for our cats to have to hide upstairs for 2 whole weeks? One of them gets so freaked out by him just being there that she barely eats when he's around. 3 days is hard enough on her. 2 weeks is so cruel." "Well, you could figure something out. I really don't want to have to take him to the kennels for 2 weeks. I don't think it's humane to keep a dog in a kennel. Are you sure you two can't push your vacation back a few weeks?" It is just a lot of no's. And eventually the conversation dropped and we thought that everything was fine. But then my aunt went on her usual Facebook rants because she probably felt no one in the fam would see. Only my mom, my sister, our uncle, different aunt's husband, and his son are ever really on Facebook besides her. She was going a "woe is me, the world is unfair" complaint about how we're mean and that family is supposed to help each other out. So why can't we just stop being selfish and watch her dog? And if she doesn't have anyone to watch her dog, then she and her son will have to cancel plans and won't be able to go with her boyfriend and his son to the Grand Canyon. And how unfair that was to them. She's also been pestering us constantly since the Facebook post to see if we're suddenly available to take her dog for her. I'm honestly not going to be surprised if she just shows up in the backyard again to drop him off regardless of being told no. We're just on the verge of blocking her and going low contact until she checks her entitled self. Idiot. I see people bringing up pretty valid concerns of him potentially killing a kid, but I don't think he's physically capable of that. He can be pretty mean, but he's also like a 10-pound ankle biter who's missing half his teeth. He can bite and it will sting. But it'll be fairly easy to throw him off with how little and light he is. Though I don't encourage throwing animals if he attacks someone, it wouldn't be that hard to do, even for a kid. Though I do think he's very capable of harming other small animals, but I ain't an expert in this field, so I might be wrong. Next story. You wanna use my locker? Fine. I got the lock, dummy. Basically, in my work, I work in the basement of a 4-level building. The employee break room is on the 4th floor, and it's where the lockers for most staff is. But in the basement, we have a few of our own lockers. Only thing is, it's in the bathroom. So if you use a bathroom, you lock the door and cut off access to the lockers. We have about 16 down there, 10 of which are claimed. There is also a hallway with a shelf and coat hangers to put your stuff on. I got a locker during orientation for my job, and have been using it since I got there. For a while, however, I had to stop because a certain co-worker, who would get done earlier than me, would hang out in the bathroom until it was time to leave and lock the door. So I couldn't get my stuff until later. I'm very possessive over my stuff. Even with the lock on it, I get so worried easily. So I just kept my stuff and locked it in my purse and put it in my car. He left a few months later, and I went to go use my locker again, only to find stuff in it that wasn't mine. Stuff like prescription pills and Apple Watch, keys and other miscellaneous things. I kept my lock in my purse and just moved the things to the side to put my purse in. I asked all my co-workers over the next few days if any of them kept their things in a certain locker, and all of them denied. I even asked my boss to check the locker records and make sure I was using mine and not someone else's. And I was using mine. Since everyone denied it and I didn't want to limit their access to important stuff, I just kept my purse to the side of the locker and theirs to the other side. Soon after though, after the first shift left, and before I left for the end of the day, I noticed my bag wasn't in the locker. I checked the other opened ones and found mine in one of them. I figured whoever's stuff this was moving mine around. Again, I asked my co-workers the next few days. They all claim they don't use the stuff in there, and it's not theirs. It happened almost every other day for about a week. And one day I just had it. I wired out the combination on the back of the lock, so no one but me would know. And on a Friday, I checked my locker to find my stuff moved again. I got my purse, grabbed the lock and locked my locker, with all the other stuff in it. I didn't work the weekend either, so it was locked until Monday morning. I walk in to immediately hear my name from a fellow co-worker. She started chewing me out and asking why I locked it, and she couldn't get to her stuff all weekend. She kept going on and on saying how pity and upset and disappointed she was to trust a young lady like me to deprive her of her things. Once she was done, I calmly said, "I had asked you multiple times on multiple occasions if this was your locker and if the things inside were yours, and you denied all of it." After checking with my boss again, confirming it is my locker, I simply did what I was entitled to. I locked it. If you're upset, take it up with my boss. Needless to say, the boss sided with me. The stuff was removed from the locker that night, and a couple of morning shift people who worked with her came over to praise me for being petty and standing up for myself, since I never do. Next story. Big group thinks they own the forest, so they come all the time. A few months ago, towards the end of the season in this area, I went camping with my friends. We were 3 women. The spot we chose was on a cliff with a great view of a canyon and the creek at the bottom. The area allows dispersed camping, and there are very few spots with that view, and it's first come first serve. When we arrived, only one spot was left, with a view hidden behind trees but only a few feet away. The view could only be accessed by walking straight through our camp. I think there are other spots you can hike to without going through a campsite. On our first night there, two men walked into our camp saying they wanted to see the view. I wasn't super comfortable because you can't trust a stranger in a forest, and they were in our space. But they were only there for a few minutes and they left. The next day we went to watch the sunset on the cliff and had left all of our stuff lying around the camp when we started hearing cars, dogs, voices, and screaming kids. Two cars pulled up to our camp and walked right in, making themselves comfortable. We ran back to see all of our space was completely invaded. Kids under our tarp and running around the tent poles. People around our fire and so on. We had a small puppy with us that was terrified of the new dog, but these people didn't care. A woman explained that they live nearby and love coming to see the view. I was in absolute shock at the disrespect. Everyone is allowed to enjoy nature, and it is a public spot, but you have to respect it if someone is there first. At least have the decency to ask. As they were leaving, well after sunset, the same woman said they would be coming later that night to see the stars. My friends were so angry and I was still in shock. As they were loading their car, I ran up to them and said the first thing that came to mind. I asked one of the men, "Hey, when you come back later, are you planning on bringing the kids?" "I'm not sure. Why is that?" "Well, the thing is, we're out here to do heavy drugs. We're starting in a few minutes, and things might get pretty wild then. I wouldn't want to expose children to that. You as adults might be able to handle it, but I don't know what will happen. I really don't do any drugs, and only drink occasionally." And thankfully my plan worked. They never came back, thank God. And hopefully they learned something about respecting people's space. Next story. Entitled Mother Tries to Steal My Plush because she says that I'm too old for it. Yeah, I know the title sounds stupid, but the story isn't. Some context. So I collect plushies. It is one of my many hobbies and I usually buy one every few months. The story. I was at a toy shop, you know, the typical ones that sell toys and video games. I was looking in the plushie section when randomly a kid came up to me. He looked around 9 years old and said, "Why are you looking at the titties?" I replied, to buy one? The kid gave me a weird look and walked away. I thought nothing of it and continued looking until I found one that I wanted and went to the counter to buy it. When I was about to pay for it, I heard a kid's voice saying, "Mommy, look, that's the guy that was looking at the titties." I turned around to see that kid again, just with his mother, and they walked up to me and said, "Why are you buying a teddy bear? You're too old for them." Me realizing that this isn't gonna end well if I say something back, I just quickly pay for it, but then the entitled mother tries to grab the plush. But I grab it before she could and she said, "What are you doing? Give that to me right now. My baby deserves it more than you." I reply, "No, I paid for it, so you won't have it." She was really mad for some reason and actually slapped me across the face. Everyone just looked at her shocked at what she did, including me. Security were called and they held us there until the cops arrived. The entitled mother was arrested and I haven't seen her since. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.